All right, we're going to hear about factory farming, and we're going to start with the pros. Please give them a big hand.
In 1950, the average American farmer could feed 30 people. Now, that same farmer can feed over 130. Through the advancement of technology, farms have increased into sizes never before seen. Beginning in the 1950s and 60s, farmers realized confining cattle indoors and feeding them corn and grains like barley was more efficient and easier to do. This led for the meat industry to double in size by the year 1970.
Hello. In this presentation, Jacob and I will be presenting the cons of factory farms. Factory farms were first introduced to the United States in the 1930s with chicken. As American cities began to develop and grow, there became a high demand for eggs and meat. Because there was such limited amount of land, farmers began to realize that it was more efficient and it was more practical to raise the chickens indoors rather than outdoors, as they were able to raise a larger flock all year round. As farmers began to raise other livestock such as cattle and pigs. Although there are many cons to factory farms, we will be focusing on how working conditions found on factory farms, groundwater contamination, and unhealthy meats affect our society negatively.
The first pro of factory farming is economic efficiency. Economic efficiency is the use of sources to maximize production of goods and services. Factory farming is a great example of economic efficiency. Factory farms produce more food than small family farms. In fact, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, also known as the OECD, only 2% of our food supply comes from small family farms. Factory farms produce supermarkets such as Walmart, Kroger, and Giant, which makes more jobs. Also, the more food produced, the less its prices, so more people can afford food.
Factory farms can give the everyday citizen a job. However, the conditions of factory farms are very harmful and can sometimes be fatal. Each farm's conditions can vary between many different types of variables, such as dry animal manure and bacterial toxins. A study at the Iowa State University shows that 70% of all workers in factory farm pig confinements have experienced at least one symptom of respiratory failure or a type of illness. Also, the air of factory farms are also hazardous because it contains many different types of gases, such as ammonia, which can come from large amounts of urine. If somebody inhales ammonia, it can damage the cilia in your throat. Another type of gas is hydrogen sulfide, which can come from liquid manure. And exposure to low amounts of hydrogen sulfide can cause symptoms such as dry skin and eye irritation. In factory farms, the workers are almost impossible to resist these types of gases, since nobody in factory farms will ever take the time to clean up the manure and the urine of animals.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, factory farms provide jobs for 94.3% of workers that work in agricultural situations. They provide jobs for many workers in nearby communities and also for immigrants who can't find jobs anywhere else. Currently, the unemployment rate in the number of unemployed people in the United States is around 10,500,000 people. With factory farms, the number has stayed steady, but if we were to resort back to family-owned farms, the number could increase close to 11 million unemployed people in the United States.
As factory farms have been in use throughout the years, it has affected the supply of fresh groundwater. When the manure found in factory farms are used incorrectly, it overloads the soil with macronutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen. When this manure is improperly spread onto land, it causes the groundwater to run off into lakes, streams, rivers, and ponds. Groundwater is extremely difficult to monitor, making contaminations very hard to pinpoint. When these pathogenic organisms do contaminate the water, it poses as a serious threat to the overall quality of our drinking water.
Another positive aspect of factory farming is production efficiency. The journey of a beef cow from time to being in your grocery store meat aisle takes anywhere from 14 to 20 months. However, the actual slaughtering and packing of the animal is done in less than a day. Factory farms have perfected farming processes to make them more efficient as to be able to get food to consumers as quickly and cheaply as possible. Most farms use conveyor rails during their production so that workers can do their part and quickly send the animal on to the next worker. The benefit of factory farming production is that consumers get their food quickly and for less while still getting the same quality product.
The factory farm meat has a lack of nutrients that everybody needs. Ruminants, animals that consist of diet of grass, such as cows and goats, are not getting their daily diet of grass. The main ingredient in factory farm feed is grain. Why? Because it is cheap and it helps increase body mass. But it also contains many other disturbing type of ingredients, such as bubble gum, restaurant waste, chicken manure, and stale cookies. If these animals are eating these types of ingredients, it causes a condition called subacute acidosis, which causes the animals to have a sharp kick in their stomach, and it causes them to leave their actual feed and go and eat dirt. To help prevent this, the factory farm workers pack their feed not only with all the ingredients I just described, but with tons of antibiotics. Well, these are the antibiotics that we use, but since harmful bacteria is constantly evolving and adapting to resist these types of drugs, these bacteria will come in contact with the meat and go into 99% of the meat that we consume because of factory farming. In his online article, Dr. Frank Lippin explains how grain-fed meat has more fat in saturated fat and less vitamin E than grass-fed meat. He also explains how grain-fed meat lacks the two fats that we actually need. These fats are omega-3 fatty acids and CLA, or conjugated linoleic acids.
Through the invention of factory farms, the global food industry has changed forever. Without these farms, the United States would not only be not able to feed their own population, let alone keep up with the global demand for food. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, 99.9% of chickens, 97% of eggs, 95% of pigs, and 98% of cattle come from factory farms. Without these farms, America's meat would never appear on our dinner tables.
Factory farms affect our society in a negative way with its hazardous working conditions, water pollution, and non-nutritious meats.
With all these negative aspects, it proves our point that factory farms are a threat to our society, our environment, and also our livestock. Thank you.
I have one question for the pros, because two different people talked about the impact on employment. One talked about how factory farms are way more efficient and we can feed more people, large population with fewer workers. But another person talked about how factory farms employ more people than farms. Can you clarify that?
Factory farms support a lot of local family farms. In Orange County, almost 58% of Orange County's population live in rural areas and are all farmers. So what happens with the local farmer is if they're raising cattle, they usually raise them until weaning age, and then they sell that calf to a large factory farm, and then it's brought up to age to be slaughtered.
Thank you.